Welcome to the Crash the Pond podcast. It is a Tuesday, December 3rd edition of the podcast. We're going to call it the quarter season check-in edition of the podcast. Is that a fair assessment of what today's show is going to be?
I mean, pretty much. I mean, how far are the Ducks into the season? 23 games, right?
23 games.
Pulled that off out of the top of my head. So 23 games, a little over the quarter-way mark then of the season. So yeah, I think it's a perfect time to do this after the last couple weeks. We didn't do a show last week, and just to, I guess, let the cat out of the bag. Is that a saying? Every time I say shit like that, I end up wondering if it's actually something or I'm just making it up. But this is Felix's probably last show of 2024.
Wow.
With craziness coming up with school, so we're kind of gonna do a nice little dive into everything to end off 2024 for Felix.
Wow. Well, yeah. Is that a Felix the Cat joke?
It wasn't even meant to be that, but sure.
Yeah, I'll give you that credit. Yeah, this is probably my last one of the year, although outside chance that there will be one for like New Year's Eve. Not out of the question, but we're not banking on it right now. I will be out of the country for half the month. I will be in another country. So I am not planning on bringing my podcasting equipment during some family time abroad. It's just not it's not what I'm envisioning for this trip. I'm sorry.
As you should.
I've done it before, actually, and it's been okay. But this time I'm I'm unplugging completely. I'm going off grid. So
Good for you.
Anyway, all that being said, today what we're doing is taking kind of a bird's eye view, a 40,000 foot view, a 38,000 foot view. The altitude's just going to keep going down until we crash. A 30,000 foot view of the Ducks season, because yes, we can talk about the last week of games. We can talk about whose fault was the goal against LA and the Zegras turnover in the neutral zone. Like, we could do all of that, but we've now hit enough games in the season where I think we can start pointing out some things, some trends. We can start drawing our own conclusions about this team, its players, its coaches, its management, and just make sense of it all. Because I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a portion of the fan base, or at least for me as a fan, when I'm following a team, sometimes I just want to check in and just be like, tell me if my team is good or not, or tell me what's going on with this team. And I feel like that's what we need to do for the Ducks today. Just a full audit of the situation.
Yeah, and I think kind of looking back on the last 2 weeks, just very quickly touching on it, I think they've played more encouraging hockey overall over this span. I think that this may be the best 2-week stretch the Ducks have had this season. And so I think kind of jumping off of that into this conversation, I think is a nice way to do it.
Yeah, they've been playing better. They have. I don't know if I would call their better great.
I mean, the best 2-week stretch they've had. With that being said, I think that 2-week stretch has been competitive. I think you look at every single game from this stretch, they had a chance to win basically every single game, and deservedly so. They were in every single game that they played over that span.
Yeah. I think that what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is this team has kind of found a way to minimize a lot of mistakes, that you don't see necessarily a lot of catastrophic breakdowns. Mm-hmm. You also don't really see a lot of offense. I feel like what they've kind of found a way to do is really stifle games, make it difficult for the other team to get their chances. And sometimes because of that, they're also going to stifle their own chances because they're in such a kind of like prevent mode. And, just looking at the stats from the last couple of weeks, if you look at their expected goals percentage, they're right under that 50% mark. They're about at 48%. And so that kind of tracks to me, where it's like they're keeping these games at a close margin, but they're not really pulling away. And like you said, they're giving themselves a chance to win night in and night out, which is important.
Which the fact that they are even close to 50% over that 2-week stretch, when you compare it to their global numbers throughout the course of the season at 23 games played, being at 43%, a league worse, just goes to show kind of the difference from the early part of the season. And especially if I put on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling now in Blue Sky, the chart from Evolving Hockey of kind of the 5-game rolling trend.
Can I ask you a question about that chart?
Sure.
Well, actually, no. Finish the thought on the chart because
No,
this is going to be good.
It just kind of shows that middle stretch of the season, they were really playing poorly. It dove down pretty far, and it's basically like a parabola at this point. It started off being okay, went down in the middle, and now has come back up to being close to 50%. And so I think my overall thought kind of looking at that is this is a young team still that is figuring it out and growing into the game, and they're starting to figure out how to play a bit. You're right that it's stifling some things, and I think that there are certain things that still need to be unlocked, I think, by the coaching staff, and we can get into that as we start diving into this a bit more. But it is trending in the right direction right now.
Yeah, it is. It is trending in the right direction. They had a really bad stretch. I mean, to be honest, they just started off bad and got worse, and they're inching their way back to respectability, I think is the best way I can put it. And I think that, again, it's interesting because when I look at that trend line of, they're getting better and better and better, it's interesting how, to me, the improvement is coming more from just being more responsible defensively and limiting the chances against, as opposed to they're generating more of their own. It just feels like they've really kind of slowed the game down for themselves. And I think part of it, I mean, what's interesting is I think part of it is that during that stretch where they've been playing better, they've found some line combinations that have really worked, and then they've gone away from those. They've stuck with some combinations, and they've not stuck with others. My question was going to be, though, you posted this chart with a bunch of trend lines.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just, you can just highlight the one team, right?
Because I was doing it on my phone.
Because it's
very hard. It's very hard to do that on your phone. And I originally was just doing it for Discord, and then I realized, like, that's interesting. I'm just going to throw that out there also. Okay. You're right. If I was doing it on my computer, I would have isolated the ducks.
Okay, because it just looks like a mess.
For sure.
I mean, I can like pick it out once I figure out, okay, what am I looking for? Which
you're right.
You do point to in the tweet. You do say look for the one with
that was my way of kind of getting it out there while not having to figure out how to click on it on my phone, because it's not great for mobile for that. The Twins do a great job. That chart is not easy to use mobile on.
But here's the thing, though, that I'm going to say just kind of to frame this conversation a little further is that yes, things are trending in the right direction, but at the same time, this is the worst 5-on-5 team in the NHL. They are, if you just look at expected goals for percentage, they are worse than the San Jose Sharks. And I think that now we're past the amount of games where it's like, it's just a bad stretch. Like, yes, 23 games is still not a ton, but it's about a quarter of the season, and they are the worst team. The facts are the facts. So I think we need to spend some time today figuring out why that is as well.
Yeah, and one thing that I wanted to kind of add to what you were talking about before with how this team has improved. So just looking at kind of the last, how many games are in here? The last 5 games, just this last little 5-game stretch. Their expected goals for per 60 is a little bit higher than where it was at over the course of the season. The season, it's 2.46 expected goals for per 60. During this stretch, it's been at 2.66, so roughly similar.
Almost the same.
The biggest change is defensively. Over the course of the entire season, so this includes that 5-game stretch, they are at 3.21 expected goals against per 60. During this 5-game stretch, they're at 2.71. So what they've really done is kind of exactly what you said of they've really figured out the defensive side of it. They've cleaned up a lot of that end of their game. They've, I think, to your point, they've limited the catastrophic mistakes that have led to high danger looks. I think they've also done a better job of breaking the puck out overall, and that's led to not being caught in their own zone as much. And so I think that is the biggest positive trend for them going so far off of this little stretch here.
Yeah, and to go from, you said, so it's 3.2 on the season expected goals against to now, I mean, that's almost half a goal. I mean, it's basically half a goal less per game expected, which is significant. And so I think that part of my thing with this team, and this is going to be kind of a long conversation, so it's not going to be bullet point style. Part of me is like, well, the way they play, it's frustrating. It's not conducive to offense. But I also try to take the view, just to kind of be intellectually fair and honest to this team, is like, okay, well, they are taking baby steps in the right direction, and you have to improve little by little in certain areas to eventually get where you want to be. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag with some of my takes later on. I don't think the way this team is being coached is necessarily playing to its personnel strengths, but I will acknowledge that the way they're being coached is, at least right now, the things that they're being coached to do, which is defend responsibly, be a 3-zone pressure team, those things are improving. And the more that those things improve, let's say another 20 games from now, then maybe the offense, which is the part that I'm critical of, maybe that part will come. So it's 23 games. I have my criticisms, I have my critiques, but in another 23 games, some of those aspects that I'm not happy with right now could also improve.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's where I think looking at the trend right now is an interesting way to view it, with a younger team going through this little stretch and seeing if they can kind of build upon this. But I guess jumping into it, of my overall kind of thoughts on this team at the quarter pole, because we've kind of talked about trends, talked about things. I think you're right that globally it's just not been good enough. I think that
they're the worst.
This team should be better. What we're seeing right now is realistically what this team should have been for most of this stretch. And I think the frustrating part for me right now, because I think we'll get into a lot of positives, because I think there is a big positive. But the frustrating part for me is that I think that we've seen what this team can be, I think, at times. I think last year we didn't see it that much, right? I vaguely remember, I think the Dallas game last year was one that they looked really good at stretches in. But I think this year, more than last year, we've seen what this team can be when they are playing at their best. I think of also the Dallas game this season.
I was going to say Dallas.
Dallas is another one, but Chicago, there are a bunch of games where the Ducks have been dominant. They have looked good. They have generated offense. And so we've seen kind of what this team could be, but I just feel like it's not fully unlocked. And by that, it almost feels like the line combinations are the thing to me that are the biggest thing holding this team back. And I think that the frustrating part there is that's such an easy fix from the coaching staff. And to me, that is my biggest hang up right now, because it seems like if Cronin were to have looked at the numbers, this should have been a fairly easy decision after about the 10-15 game mark of what should be done with this lineup as he's putting together the lineup. And it felt like it took way too long to get back to Strome, Terry, and Vetrano being back together. We had talked about splitting them up and putting Terry, I think it was with McTavish at the time, and then with Zegras. Made sense because you're trying to build chemistry for a long-term line with Vetrano and Strome probably not being here long-term. But at a certain point, if this team is trying to be competitive and trying to not just lose games, right? That to me, I think, is the goal for this season outside of just development, is trying to be in the race. So it's not as dull and dreary and everything that you've heard about the Ducks locker room from last season from all the various different podcasts that are out there that have talked about it, that building upon that and having a 500 season to make it where they're playing down the stretch and playing those meaningful games, finding a lineup that actually is working and clicking is probably the most important thing as of right now. And so the Strome, Vetrano, and Terry line as a whole has been one of the Ducks' best lines. They're at around 60% expected goal share, which for a team that is at 43% expected goal share, to have a line that has played now a significant amount of minutes, I think 140, 150 minutes together, and be in the 60% range, just shows how kind of good that line has been, and I guess how bad other lines have been. And then when you flip that though and look at some of the other combinations and the ones that have worked, there's one that when it was one away from, or that Cronin went away from in, I think it was the Red Wings game, in Gauthier, Zegras, and Killorn. And that line was really going and clicking, and maybe they weren't generating goals, but they were generating a lot of good looks. And they, in I think it was only 40 or 50 minutes together, had generated about 64% expected goal share. So if you could have two lines that are in the 60 percentile, or 60th percentage for expected goals, and those are your top two lines, you're not going to be at 43% expected goal share. You're going to be in a much better position. You're going to have much better lines going, and it's going to work its way down the lineup, because if you go with those two lines, then you end up having maybe McTavish in a little bit of a better role, and maybe he's been put on the wing with Leo Carlsson. it just feels like he's forcing construction in certain ways for various different reasons and not necessarily doing it in the most conducive way to create a cohesive lineup. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I think that everything you're saying is getting at, I think, where, because what I wanted to do was kind of like, let's talk about the things that are going well, the things that need to be fixed, surprises, disappointments.
Sorry.
So, no, but this kind of works. I'm gonna pull this one. I'm gonna pull this one and go yard.
Go for it.
Disappointments. You can say it's a disappointment. You can say it's a nothing, but you're kind of touching on it without really saying it. Greg Cronin. I mean, that's the thing. If I were to try to capture what has been the biggest theme for me of this season, because yes, there are individual players, there are lines that have played well. There is a goalie, Lucas Dostal, who is making a run at the Vezina Trophy. Mm-hmm. There are really great stories individually, but I think that you touched on it. It's the coach. The coach is the thing that, at first it was like, okay, let's see, where is this going? And now it's really starting to be confusing and at times frustrating with Greg Cronin.
Yeah, and one thing I want to jump in on there is, I think to clarify here on the Cronin part, it's not for kind of the reasons everyone else, I think, has talked about Greg Cronin and said fire Cronin, because a lot of that, and that's just one thing I wanted to clarify here, because people listening to this might be saying, well, you guys defended Cronin, because I think what we said back then when all that hubbub was going on was still correct, that the Ducks were playing better at that time than the amount of goals that they were scoring was showing. And so that whole like clamoring that he had to be fired and that all this other stuff about Greg Cronin, I don't think that was valid at the time. I think you can definitely be critical of him, though, still, for the reasons that at least you and I view as the correct ones. And
you can say a coach shouldn't be fired and also be critical of their decisions.
Yeah,
both things can be. It's not one or the other. Anyway, so yes, this is the number one tension of the season, and it is Greg Cronin's decision making. Let's just stick to the forward lines, because I think that this is really, you encapsulated it perfectly, which is that they found this line by accident, I shouldn't say by accident. Greg Cronin put this line together for Toronto, Strome, and Terry.
He deserves credit for that line. That was a line to start the season. He deserves credit for it.
And they have been great. They have been fantastic. And he has even said in interviews after games that, there's analytical data to back up that line, and he is correct. What's interesting, though, is that the analytical data doesn't count when it's other lines. If another line has great numbers, they don't get that benefit of the doubt. So that line has worked well. But the issue with that line working really well is that you have three other young players. And this is the story to me. You have three other young players, Trevor Zegras, Mason McTavish, and Leo Carlsson, who all are centers, Greg Cronin has said Trevor Zegras is like a number one center. He has said that. So I'm not the one making that argument anymore. Trevor Zegras is a center. Mason McTavish is a center, as is Leo Carlsson. The issue is that when you have Strome centering Terry, this coach has proved reluctant, and I think in some ways understandably, of having the other three lines be centered by these three young kids. So that puts you in a bind. What do you do? For a while, we saw Trevor Zegras on a line with Killorn and Gauthier. They were fantastic. They put up the best expected goals for percentage of any line we've seen this season. Mm-hmm. Greg Cronin broke them up. We saw Zegras remain at center for a while. Then we saw Zegras be put on the wing with Leo Carlsson, but they were on the same line. Zegras was really the one playing center. It was actually kind of frustrating that he kept getting listed at the wing, even though he's taking all the face-offs. He's doing all the center defensive stuff. He was the center. McTavish was out for a while, and so that kind of gave them an opportunity to mess around with that. Then McTavish comes back. Leo Carlsson gets hurt. Now you have Trevor Zegras on the wing for Mason McTavish, and Zegras is firmly the wing. Like, he'll take face-offs here and there. In the second Seattle game, he was actually taking maybe half the draws, but it's clear that McTavish is the center on that line. And right now, with Isaac Lundestrom being out, with Leo Carlsson being out, wrong Swede, There is an opportunity to play all three, to play McTavish and Zegras at center, but they just aren't doing that. And I think that what's happening, to finish the thought, is that Zegras is consistently being pushed to the wing. And we've consistently said, the data has shown, the eye test has shown, everything has shown, he has said that the wing is just not the best spot for him. Meanwhile, they're waiting for Mason McTavish to get going. He hasn't gotten going. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and Paul's robbing you back because Mason McTavish isn't playing well. So that is really the biggest issue since day one of this season, is just balancing the development of McTavish and Zegras, and you can even throw in Karlsson in there. And it just feels like Greg Cronin has consistently come up with the wrong solution for that.
Yeah, and it's odd to me because I think I was fine with McTavish and Zegras being together to start the season. I think that there was an argument to give it a shot, see how it would work. I think Zegras last year in camp had mentioned that he's never played with a center like Mason McTavish that thinks the game the same way as he does and that type of stuff. But it just clearly hasn't worked. Like in 56 minutes where those two were together with Robbie Fabry, they were at 32% expected goal share. Now in 39 minutes of McTavish, Zegras, and Killorn, 27.59 expected goal share. That is nearly 90 some odd minutes, almost 90 minutes of total time that we have with Zegras and McTavish together, and they're in the 30% range for expected goal share. That's not good. That's not good enough when you have two of your most highly touted offensive players. Like to be hemmed in and not get enough there is just not good enough. And whether you want to say that is McTavish driving that down or whether that is Zegras, I think that Zegras on wing has not looked as good as he has at center. I think Mason McTavish just hasn't really had it this season. I think he's looked pretty poor, and even upon returning, I think he hasn't looked that great also. And so it could be a bit of a mix there with both of them. I'm not trying to completely absolve Zegras here from that. So,
but he's not a wing though. So it's like,
no, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it's not absolving him in the sense of he deserves fault for the numbers being bad, but in some ways that's because he's being in a position where that he shouldn't be put in. But all that to be said is that we have these numbers. Greg Cronin should have these numbers. And the other part of it is you don't even need to be looking at these numbers, honestly. Like, we focus on these numbers because it's a situation of being able to verify what we're seeing on the ice and we always come back to these numbers because they're a nice way to do a sanity check on what you see. Because there are times, especially I think when you're watching the game in the moment, you forget about plays. You're in the emotion of watching a game. You want to see the team win. Your eye test can be blinded by the eventful plays, the impactful plays, that type of thing. But when you sit back and watch the game afterwards and verify that versus the numbers, it's important. But just looking at the games and watching them and not really thinking about the motion of it, the Zegras and McTavish line have not generated a lot of offense out there. I mean, I think of the game against Ottawa where they really did not do a whole lot at all.
They were invisible. And what is interesting is that I thought that they did look better against LA. Like, especially in the first period,
I think that end of the first period stretch.
And right. Also, but the thing is, when you watch that back, Zegras was the one driving that, and in the second period as well. So to your point, those two have not worked together, and it's kind of like, when is it going to work?
Well, and the other part of that is like Alex Killorn is on that line, and Alex Killorn I think gets a lot of hate, but it's quite clear that Cutter Gauthier is a play driver. And so while I think that the Gauthier combination with Leeson and Lundstrom has been good, and I could understand the unwillingness to want to break them up, but at the end of the day, Cutter Gauthier is a top 6 player. Brett Leeson and Isaac Lundstrom are not. Are you limiting Cutter Gauthier's ability to impact the game at 5-on-5 by having him with those two guys instead of with Alex Killorn and Trevor Zegras? And in some ways, right now, it just almost feels like it was buying into the shooting percentages when breaking up that line.
Yeah, and so that's the whole thing, is that you have this tension where you have this great line with Strome, Vetrano, Terry. Leo Carlsson has not necessarily had it as well this season. And so Cronin has really just been searching the entire season to find a way to get these young guys going. And when he has gotten some of them going, like with Zegras, Gauthier, and Killorn, he just has inexplicably moved off of it, because it's like you said, if he's looking at the data, if he cares about it, then how can you ignore that Zegras, Killorn, Gauthier line? Like, was there something in their sport logic, more nuanced data that didn't look as good? Maybe. I think the other part of this is that they just need, and they want to, and they're desperate to get Mason McTavish back to where he was last season.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really kind of the whole underlying motivator for them to do this, because otherwise there's just no good reason.
And the other odd part is that it's not even a situation with Zegras, McTavish, Killorn that, you can kind of see why he's keeping it, because their goals for percentage is significantly better than expected goal share. Their goals for percentage is at 29% also. So they are getting outscored while they're on the ice, in addition to just getting outchanced. Like, it's basically lining up at this point.
Yeah. And so that to me is a really big narrative of this season, is that Trevor Zegras has looked great. And yeah, the point totals aren't great, although they've picked up quite a bit recently. I mean, he's on a nice kind of streak here point wise. And he's also shored up a lot of his defensive game, the two-way game. Mm-hmm. He's doing the stuff that Greg Cronin and Pat Verbeek want him to do. I think Leo Carlsson, he hasn't been to the level that maybe we got used to seeing last season, but I don't think he's been bad by any means. I think that he's kind of hitting that wall of, okay, I figured out, I am a great player. Now I have to figure out how to impact the game in other ways, and also he just avoiding making mistakes. But, he's very young. I mean, is he still a teenager? Leo Carlsson?
Yeah. I believe so.
Yeah, so you're not worried about Leo Carlsson. You're not worried about Trevor Zegras at this point, because I think he's shown enough to really be like, okay, this guy is going to be a solid top 6 NHL center. It's just a matter of giving him the runway to get there. Mason McTavish, though, is, what is he, 21?
He's older than 20.
Yeah, he's 21.
You're right. Yeah, he's 21, going to be 22.
He's going to be 22 in January. So he'll be 22 very soon, but we'll call him 21 for now because he is 21. But he is the missing link right now with this forward group. I mean, I'm not going to call him the weak link, because there are weaker links, but he is the missing link. Because if Mason McTavish was playing to the level that we've seen from him at any point in his NHL career so far. I mean, I was watching his highlights from 2 years ago, and man, that stretch he had where he was scoring a bunch of power play goals was phenomenal. Yeah. And we just haven't seen any of that really this season, and that is kind of the mystery box, because to start the season, it was clear that something was off with him, and then he missed time, and it was never really disclosed. We never really figured out why he missed time. It was just kind of swept under the rug. Came back, and since coming back, he does look better physically, but the puck play is just still very missing. I thought the first game he came back, he looked so much better. Everything looked better, and then it's almost like it went away as soon as it came back. And I don't know what to do with it. I don't know whether to say, okay, alarm bell time for Mason McTavish, or whether to say, and I think that this is the correct take, is just give him time. But that has been the thing dragging this team's potential down so far. It's just that guy not being who we thought he was going to be.
What do you make? This is a random thought here, on topic while also kind of off topic from what you're saying, because I think you're spot on. I think giving him time is what's important.
It's
but I
the
think
right
also,
call. Yeah,
I think it's the right call. I think I'm of the opinion that, everyone's going to, Zegras' name has been out there in the trade market, but I think McTavish probably has more value. And if there is a deal out there that is in the like of a Cutter Gauthier for Jamie Drysdale swap that makes sense in that situation, I think that Mason McTavish would be someone that I would be nervous with moving him, because you never know what he can become.
You're also selling him at a low point, which is always kind of
I think his value is still high. I think it's a difference.
No. What I'm saying is you're selling him at a low point in his on-ice play. Like, you're moving him kind of only seeing the bad. Yeah. And that's problematic. That's basically, that was the argument against trading Zegras last year was that he just had such a bad season. It's like, well,
Sure,
this is
but
this is just not
that would
the
have been the
time.
argument for not trading Drysdale at the time, also.
Yeah, but Drysdale, you have Cutter Gauthier coming back.
No,
Like,
and that's my point. That if there is a similar trade like that in a Mason McTavish deal, I think that I would probably do it. But getting back to what I was going to say originally on this was one of the things Greg Cronin talked about when he took Cutter Gauthier off that line with Killorn and Zegras, and we talked about this a bit, that he wanted him to go to the fourth line to build fourth line habits. Mm-hmm. And while you and I don't necessarily agree with that,
it's worked.
We understand why, and it's worked. And I wonder why that hasn't necessarily happened with Mason McTavish.
It has happened. He has played on the fourth line
for like a half a game.
But he's done. I think he's done it more than that.
He came back into the lineup and was on the fourth line in that first game back. Or no, they swapped him and Lundstrom.
I think he was on the fourth line even before getting hurt.
I'll double check that. I don't think so though, but I could be wrong. But it just feels like that is the spot where he probably should have come back in.
Okay, so
if Greg Cronin is having that mentality, I guess.
Here's where it went wrong.
Okay.
Here's where it went wrong with Mason McTavish, since we're doing the McTavish thing.
Okay.
People like to say, and I understand why, because it's obvious that Mason McTavish is a great forechecker, and that, you know, that's where he really shines, is getting in on the forecheck and stripping pucks and hunting pucks and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But you drafted Mason McTavish 3rd overall to be an offensive point producer. You did not draft him 3rd overall to be a forechecker. And I understand, like, it's not all or nothing. But the point is that you need to put him in offensive situations. And sure, being on the fourth line, he can learn fourth line habits, and maybe that'll be good. But where it really went wrong to me is that they had one game. It wasn't even like half a game where McTavish started on a line with Troy Terry, and I forget who was the other winger. It might have been Vetrano. And I thought, okay, great. This is perfect. Put McTavish, who is not necessarily, at least this season, a great puck transporter, playmaker, put him next to a puck dominant guy where he can at least be put into positions for shots, for rebounds, to make small area plays. Great. Like, that is what you want. You want him to be an offensive play driver. Like, that's what you drafted him for. And they just haven't done that. And, you know, now they're doing it with, you know, they're trying to put him with Zegras and Killorn, and arguably, like, that's a way to do it. But I don't know. It just hasn't clicked so far. It's interesting how this has all kind of shaken out for McTavish.
So I went back through the Ducks lineup. So there were 2 games that they did that in with Terry, McTavish, Vetrano. And it looks like the last game that he played before going out with injury was with Johnston and McGinn. When he came back, though, he was with Leeson and Gauthier.
Yeah, and someone is saying in our chat that, do you think him gaining all that muscle affected his skating? I mean, he looks the same as he's always looked physically. You know, now that he's back from injury, I think that he looks fine. The big issue with me with McTavish, and this is kind of the inexplicable part, is you just watch him when he has the puck. Like, there are so many times where he fumbles the puck or rushes or just, I mean, I hate to say it because this is something I've railed on for people saying it, especially the broadcast, but he doesn't look confident. He doesn't look confident at all with the puck. He's not making plays. He's having a hard time controlling it. And, like, you need your center to be able to make plays with the puck, and he's just not doing it right now. And so I'm very concerned about that. That is the part that's concerning to me. It's not the physical aspect, because that'll be there. It's, why is he not making plays? Why is he not getting into position to make plays? Hell, why isn't he taking shots? We heard so much about his shot before the draft. We heard so much about his shot when he came into the league, and he showed us why we should be talking about his shot when he was blasting it home on the power play a couple years ago. And this season, like, where has the shot been? And so, like, that's why part of me is very frustrated with McTavish. I'm frustrated with his usage, but, like, I just know that there's so much more than what he's shown.
Yeah.
Like, there is just, like, what he is right now is a shell of himself.
Well, and that to me, I think, is the biggest thing with when I bring up even the idea of unlocking this team, right? That
Yeah.
we see that there is something there. Like, I think that there's for sure something there this season as compared to seasons past where it's been like, okay, what is this team actually, and where are they going to end up? Where are things going? Are things trending? Things like that. This season, it feels like there is something there that can be tapped into where this team could not become a wild card team, but they could be where Pat Verbeek wants them to be, right? Where they're in the hunt. That it just takes a coach that is going to unlock it a bit more, that is going to put together the proper line combinations to really get his players going. And the thing is, it's all right there. And then in addition to that, unlocking Mason McTavish, getting him to play the way that he is trying to play, or get him to the way that he should be playing, where he's had success playing, where he can be the most effective. Because at the end of the day, like, he's at his best when he's in transition. Like,
well, that is a controversial take.
but that is where he's at his best. Like, you look at when he's had the most success in the league, right? You look at when offensively, at least. You look at the beginning of last season, the first probably 20-game stretch when that McTavish, Strome, Vetrano line was really going. They maybe didn't have the best underlying metrics because they were giving a lot of offense back, but they were generating a lot offensively, and that mainly came through McTavish in transition. Like, I think there were so many different chances where McTavish would get out of the zone and there would be a 2-on-1 with him and Vetrano. Like, that was where he generated his offense, was in transition. And it feels like that's not happening so far this year. It feels like, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but it feels like it's just he's dumping the puck in too much.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's where it makes it hard for me to fully be out on McTavish, because I think that there's a big team effect going on here where we don't have the full data yet from Corey Schneider, but there's a lot of Ducks. There's a few Ducks players who I would expect to be kind of above average in terms of getting shots off the rush, or getting chances off the rush, who just are not who are below average this season. Like, Leo Carlsson is below average in terms of generating off the rush. And so I think that if you look at this team, the way that they defend, the way that they have been defending, maybe it's improving. They don't generate a lot of rush opportunities. And I know that Mason McTavish looks like a forechecker, right? He's muscular. He's got facial hair, long hair, looks like a gritty hockey captain, all of that, right? But to your point, I agree with that take. And I think that that's where we clearly diverge with Greg Cronin, because to me, if you look at McTavish's points over the last couple of years, he's done his damage off the rush, and he is a elite rush threat. Like, he is so good at using his shot fake to then make a pass, to look off the shot, to rip a shot. Like, and sure, a lot of players are better off the rush than on the cycle. Like, that is true. But I just think that with him, there's a pretty big disparity. And yes, you do need him to be good in all facets of the game. Greg Cronin has talked about wanting him to model his game after Brady Tkachuk. But I don't see it. I don't see the comparison. Like, sure, he's physical and has got some jam, but Brady Tkachuk is a different tier of player in that regard. Like, he's just bigger, he's more physical. And yeah, I think McTavish can certainly borrow elements of that, but I think McTavish is more of a skill guy than I think people realize. And there's nothing wrong with that. Use him to his strengths. It's just the way that this team is currently playing, the way that they're built, they're not really looking, they're not getting chances off the rush because they're stuck in their zone so much.
And one thing I think you can do, actually, with a lineup, and it takes a coach really adjusting his strategy, is you tweak what you want to be done to what that line does best. Like, I think that you don't... This is just my personal view. I don't think you want every line playing the exact same way. No. I think that becomes easier to defend. And so you look at the Vetrano, Terry Strome line right now, right? They're generating a lot of offense off the cycle. Like, it feels like that, which is something that has not happened with the Ducks team in a hot minute, of having a line that can really get offense for itself off the cycle and not off the rush. And so that is a line where, sure, like, Troy Terry is always going to carry the puck in, and that's always going to be successful. But, like, if Vetrano and Strome want to dump it in, that's a line that wants to go in and get pucks back. Like, sure, that works. Troy Terry is great at stripping guys of pucks. Like, that is a forward line that can be really good at entering the zone with possession. It can also be a forward line that can really get into the corners and win pucks back and get into a better spot. But I think that if you're trying to fit every single line into that, it's just not necessarily going to work, because Maybe if you have Gauthier, Zegras, Killorn, maybe they can do that because Gauthier can get in there. But Killorn doesn't have the speed to really get in on the forecheck as well. Zegras is not as best going in on the forecheck.
Bingo.
And
that's the whole issue, is that when McTavish is dumping it in, like, that's where you can blame Zegras a little bit, but I still don't think it's a blame. It's just he is not he can be good on the forecheck, but that's just not his strength. He should be the one with the puck.
Yeah, and so if Zegras has the puck, they're not going to be dumping it in as much. They're going to be carrying it into the zone, and he's going to hold it. And I can think of so many different chances where he's entered the zone, slammed on the brakes, and looked for a pass. And there was, I think, one in that first game with McTavish where he, I think, expected McTavish to jump into a little soft space, and McTavish kind of held up also. And
are you talking about which game are you talking about?
I think one of the first games since McTavish came back, where Zegras entered the zone, really slowed down.
That's happened multiple times.
McTavish just didn't explode into the open ice that Zegras wanted.
It cost them a goal against LA. I mean, that's basically what happened on one of the goals against.
On that pass across. Like, Zegras maybe has to make a better pass, but he's trying to hit McTavish in stride there in space to get the puck going the other way. And so, like, that is where, kind of, to get back to the whole point, is that you tailor the strategy to the line, not force every line to fit an overall strategy.
Well, I really think that this is like a whole domino thing, where because they're always, at least so far this season, because they're defending so much, there's a lot of instances, and some of the data backs it up, where your defensemen are having to clear the puck out a lot. You're not getting these controlled exits that you would like. You're not getting these, kind of like nice tic-tac-toe passing sequences out of the defensive zone into the neutral zone, and then a controlled zone entry. So there's a lot of times where it's a foot race. If you win that foot race, then you're dumping it in, and you can never really get set up how you would like to. So there is a domino effect there. But I also just don't think that and maybe this is just like me being hard on Cronin, and maybe I just need to watch other teams, and maybe it's true for every team, but I feel like there's nothing in the way this team plays that really encourages easy offense. Like, there's nothing in this system that encourages odd man rushes. That's really the thing that's the source of what I would call easy offense, is like, how can we generate odd man rushes, outnumbered attacks, in order to give ourselves a greater chance at scoring a goal on any given play. The Ducks just don't have the threat of that, it feels like, ever. And so when you don't have that kind of curveball to throw at teams of, hey, if you turn it over in our zone, it could be a 3-on-2 going back the other way. If you don't have that curveball, then you're really just dependent on the talent and the combinations of each forward line. And I think that that's kind of how it's played out, where, Troy Terry is going to be great no matter who he plays with, because he is Troy Terry. He can do whatever he wants. He has the green light, and he just happens to work with Strome and Vetrano. But outside of that, everything is dependent on the right mix. Like, the only times that we've seen great offense from this team have been when the right combinations have been hit. Like, we haven't seen it come as a result of, they are just doing things to generate easier looks from themselves. It's always just because they happen into a combination. And I think that now feeding into a bigger picture view with Cronin is what gives me a little concern about his long-term viability as a coach. But like I said earlier, let's see what it looks like in 20 more games before I'm like completely throwing him out. So,
yep.
Anyway, we went really deep on that, but that's the point of today's show.
That's the point of the show right here. I guess we really focus a lot on kind of Zegras and McTavish there, but I think that they are they are the two pivotal things here, because Leo Carlson's going to be Leo Carlson. Like, he is 19 years old, figuring out his way in the league. I think that there is I think he has a lot of leash from me to be able to figure it out, even if he's not playing that amazing at various points in time, just because what he's doing as a 19-year-old is still above and beyond what you could expect from someone at that age doing in this league.
I was going to say quickly here, should we add Cutter Gauthier into that category?
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like he's not at the Leo level, but I'm like, you know what? He's kind of just got it figured out. Like, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, like, I think it's a little different, though, in terms of how I would analyze their game at times. I think Carlson has struggled at various points in time and might not be as impressive as you would want him to be, but when you kind of take a step back and realize what he's doing at his age, it's impressive. Cutter Gauthier, on the other hand, I think deserves a whole bunch of praise. Because I think he is a player that you did all your breakdowns of him for the Patreon last year and broke down a lot of his shifts, everything like that. What he is doing right now in the NHL, and to be honest, we've been very critical of Greg Cronin at this point. He deserves praise for what he's done with Cutter Gauthier, though. Because he's taken Cutter Gauthier, who was someone that wasn't that great defensively at Boston College, was someone that you would think may not have been a play driver, was going to be a support-type player that is going to have a lethal shot. Like, he's been above and beyond all of that as, a 20-year-old in the NHL?
Yep. Yeah, like, he's 20.
he just looks like an NHLer. He is playing a very good NHL game. He is getting into the corner. He's utilizing his shot. He's finding soft space on the ice. Like, Cutter Gauthier is playing a lot better than I think you or I expected him to do, and Greg Cronin deserves credit for that.
Yeah, and that's, well, I think he does. Greg Cronin does deserve credit. Mm-hmm. Part of me also kind of wants to say that Cutter Gauthier is succeeding in spite of Greg Cronin, but I will give Greg Cronin some credit. Like,
if we're gonna talk about all this stuff where he's not putting guys in good positions, like, he does deserve credit for Gauthier improving his game from a development perspective, when it seems like that is the reason why Cronin was hired.
Yeah, well, I mean, is Lundestrom and Leeson in a position to succeed? I don't know, but
fair.
But the thing with Gauthier is that you're right. Watching him at Boston College last year, it was like, oh, this guy floats a lot. This guy is not necessarily always the most engaged, but he has that great shot. You know, what is this going to look like when he actually has to, when he's not just automatically the best player or one of the best players? And to his credit, he has fully bought into everything Greg Cronin is trying to get him to do. Like, and I think also over the summer, I think his skating just improved. I think he's a fast skater. He is a strong skater. He is strong on his edges, great balance. He's smart with the puck, makes the little plays in the neutral zone. And then you layer onto that the elite shot. I mean, hell, that's goal. Was it against Seattle? The power play shot? Or was it a different game? It was a wrist shot from the top of the right circle.
I think it was in. Was it in Seattle?
It was in Seattle. Yeah, that was a disgusting shot. Like, it was a pinpoint shot right under the bar, high glove. Like, it was just, he has that, but then he's also bringing his game overall. He also has a little playmaking to him, and he's 20. Like, we've seen this before with certain guys. They come in and they're really good right away. So, and then maybe they have a little bit of a dip. So we'll keep an eye on it. But the first 23 games of Cutter Gauthier's first full NHL season have been commendable. I think that the puck hasn't really rolled his way. You know, he's definitely suffered from a lack of puck luck, but he deserves all the credit in the world for how he's played. Like, he's just been thoroughly impressive. And that's what kind of makes it frustrating now, is you see Zegras and McTavish struggling together chemistry-wise. Like, it just doesn't seem to be there. And it's like, you've got Cutter Gauthier right there with Lundestrom and Leeson, and now maybe are they swapping Leeson and Colangelo? Like, maybe that'll help.
No.
Daily Faceoff has them flipped, but that's
because I think yesterday's practice lines had that swapped. Derek had that swapped, and then today it was back to being normal.
Like, Lundestrom has had some nice plays, and Leeson can do Leeson things, but like, that's not optimal.
Like,
for offense. It's
like
just not.
They've found chemistry. They're playing well, but you can still at the same time say, having Cutter Gauthier with Leeson and Lundestrom is not the same as having him with Trevor Zegras.
I mean, I would much prefer him with Lundestrom and Colangelo. I think Colangelo's got more to offer offensively. Fair. But yeah, all this to say, he should be with Trevor Zegras or Mason McTavish. I mean, put him with McTavish and let Zegras center a line, like whatever it is, but just let them kind of go with it. So when you look at the young forwards for this season, the frustrations with McTavish have been there. There's time for that to turn around. Zegras, we've talked about him a lot. I think that he's really hit his stride. Cutter Gauthier has been great. Leo Carlsson, not
concerned with, but hasn't been amazing.
Hasn't been up to his usual standard, and I think that you just have to continue to remember that he's extremely young and that he will be fine. Should we talk about the defense a little bit?
Yeah. Yep. We're 50 minutes in and have only talked about the forwards, so yes.
Olin Zellweger is my headline for the Blue Liners because we just need to talk about the fact that he has been put into a very shitty spot, having to play his offside pretty much the entire season. I mean, I guess he was on the left side here and there, but having to be on the right side with Lacombe, having to be on the right side with Fowler, and it's tough for him. There are multiple plays that you can point to every game where it's like, because he had to pick it up on his backhand, whether it's in the corner in his own zone or at the blue line offensively, where it just puts him in a tough spot. And yet he's still been, in my mind, their best defenseman, just in all facets of the game. You know, if you include offensive production, power play, and all of that, he has been the best. And when you think about where he was a year ago, he was in the AHL. He was not even in the NHL. And so to be at this point where, to me, he is basically carrying Jackson Lacombe. You know, Lacombe has been good, but it's clear who is the guy who's kind of the one that's the babysitter on that line, and it's the one who's forced to play as a lefty on the right side. He has just been fantastic, and it's great to see. It's great to see that kind of steady progression. You know, you go spend that extra year in junior, or was it 2 extra years? I don't remember. And then go in the AHL, be an AHL All-Star, get called up, and your next season, again, though, coach doesn't even think you should be in the lineup right away, and then come in and just steal the show. Like, it's fantastic, and flowers to Olin Zellweger.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. He's been the best Ducks defenseman this season. He's just been all over the ice. There's so many times where he just is able to make his way into the zone and get to really, really dangerous spots. I think Jackson Lacombe playing with him has been better for playing with Olin Zellweger. Like, I think Olin Zellweger, you're right, has carried him a bit, but I think Jackson Lacombe's game has also improved. I think he's jumping into plays at more beneficial situations. I think that pairing has just kind of worked for the most part. I think it's been the best situation that Zellweger's been in, playing on his right side.
Well, I think what's interesting with Lacombe is that there are games where I think they do look legitimately great, and then there are other games.
Sure.
I feel like he has a lot more like C games, whereas like this is like a dumb cliche, but I feel like he just doesn't have a B game. It's either like he's going to be great or he's going to make mistakes a lot, and there's just no in between, but that could just be my own bias. But to your point, their numbers have been good. They have above a 50% expected goal percentage. Like, they have been good together. And so maybe my eye test be damned. I still think that Zellweger on his proper side, with the pairing that makes more sense, the numbers could be even better. Right? Like, that's the thing, is you don't want to get into the trap of, oh, well, the numbers are good, so there's no issue. It's like, no, it could be even better. But yeah, they have been great. Lacombe, I think, is another headline where, yes, he has made his mistakes, but there are also some real highlights with him. Like, there are moments of brilliance with Jackson Lacombe that deserve praise.
I mean, he has 2 really nice goals.
I feel like his goals are always, it's him just like sneaking in from like all the way back. Yeah. He just finds his way to the front of the other team's net
and just has a really, really nice rebound goal to be able to find it. And then for me, the other real highlight is Drew Helleson. Like, talk about someone where we were talking about him going into the season, that this training camp was a big one for him to like really show what he could do with this team. And it's funny because for whatever reason, I feel like Drew Helleson is older than he is.
Yeah, him and Lacombe are basically the same age, right?
They are the same age. They came out of college, if you remember, at the same time.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, like, Jackson Lacombe just feels younger. I think just because he's been on the Ducks and has been here, he almost feels like you remember his age a bit more. Whereas Helleson, it almost feels like he was in the AHL for longer than he was. Like, he was only there for 1 full season.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, it feels like it's longer than that. But for a guy that was in the AHL and, by all accounts, wasn't playing amazing, wasn't playing bad, but wasn't playing amazing for the goals this season, to come up and basically look at home in the NHL game, where it just feels like this is a game that's just more suited for the way that he plays. And it's just been a really, really nice surprise, I think, for the Ducks team. And I think against the Ottawa Senators, I think that while the numbers don't necessarily support this, because Zellweger Lacombe was an amazing pairing, I think that Drew Helleson probably had the best game out of any of the Ducks defensemen in that game.
Well, it's funny that you say that he wasn't amazing in the AHL, because I agree. But here's the thing, and this is going to be a compliment this is a compliment. But Drew Hellison doesn't play an amazing game. He just does
Fair.
He just does the right things consistently. It's just that in the AHL, which is a more chaotic game, if you've watched the AHL, you know, like it is way below the NHL in terms of structure and skill and all of that. I really think that guys like him just don't get rewarded for making the small but correct decisions repeatedly.
Yep.
Right? And he doesn't have that fastball, that big tool that is going to make him stand out like an Olin Zellweger with his crazy skating or his great shot. Like, he just doesn't have that thing. And so he's never going to stand out when he's just, you know, in a pile down in San Diego. But now that you put him into a real system, you put him next to real NHL defensemen, and all of a sudden his tools shine because he's got a good brain, he's got good feet, he's got some skill. He is an NHL defenseman. That's all there is to it. And that was kind of my thought watching him a little last season. I was like, you know, we just need to see him play. Like there's nothing left to really find out in the NHL. So honestly, if we want to talk about maybe, like, it's only, 6 games that he's played?
Yeah. 8, I think.
8 games, but like, if this holds, this is a huge deal for the Ducks.
It gives the Ducks another right-hand defenseman. Like, this is huge for them because as of right now, like, it really was Tristan Luneau. That was it.
Yeah.
And now if you have Luneau and Hellison on that right side, and maybe Zellweger long-term stays there. I think you and I both would prefer him moving back to the left side, but maybe he stays there. Like, this gives the Ducks, like, a really nice, different mix of defensemen on that right side.
Well,
and so, I don't know if we see him in San Diego again. Like, that's how good he's played.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Because Cam Fowler is coming back.
Yep.
And so room will have to be made. But here's the other thing with Hellison. If the Ducks so out of the 2022 trade deadline, if you get Drew Hellison and Tristan Luneau, and they both become members of your top 6D for the next 5 to 10 years, how much of a home run is that alone?
Well, that 2022, like, we talked about, I think it was on a Patreon episode, right?
Yeah.
Of what that 22 deadline.
It's aging very well, is what we were saying.
It's insane with what they ended up getting from that deadline. And
but I'm saying, just with Luneau and Hellison, that is already huge if those guys become what we think they can be.
Sure. I think they got, like, Sidorov also from that trade deadline and the Delorier deal. Like, that is the whole issue with, I mean...
Damian Clara.
Complete side note here, but was listening to a podcast today and they were talking about the Ducks rebuild and kind of how it's really hard for team. And this was a general conversation about rebuilding, and it takes 6 years, and it's hard for teams to swallow. It was Jeff Merrick's new one, On the Sheet or whatever, when him and Wish were talking about it. But it was just like talking about different teams rebuilding, and the Sharks and Blackhawks, and I think it was in the Bedard conversation that they were having. But the conversation around the Ducks with that is never actually correct, in the sense of they didn't actually rebuild until Pat Verbeek took over the team.
Yeah, they were just accidentally bad for like 3 years.
And that deadline shows just what an actual rebuild can do for you if you do it properly. Like, it just shows what you can get. Because, like you said, Tristan Luneau, Drew Hellison, Sidorov, like, there's a bunch of players in that mix that with those picks the Ducks got. And they could be players on this team.
Like, having 2/3 of your right side basically figured out for the next however many years from a trade deadline, where you trade guys that were very popular that some people wanted extended. You take that trade. You do in fact take that trade. Shifting gears though, I'll add in another highlight, because I think really 4/6 of the current blue line are great stories. Lacombe, Zellweger, Hellison, Brian Dumoulin has been. If Zellweger hasn't been the Ducks' best defenseman this season, then I think Dumoulin is the other pick. Maybe, like, he doesn't have the offensive impact, but he is just so reliable in moving the puck. Like, that is the thing where I feel like consistently every game he is just a breakout machine. And he does it in ways I didn't know he had. I was not familiar with his game. Like, he is he is able to, stick handle around forecheckers, make those little passes. Like, he's just a blast to watch.
Very quick, I found all the trades, so just for everyone out there to be able to hear it. So from the Josh Manson trade, the Ducks got Drew Hellison and Carey Terrance. From the Nick Deloria trade, the Ducks got Yegor Sidorov. From the Hampus Lindholm trade, the Ducks got Urho Vakanainen, and then they got Nathan Gauthier, Damien Clara, and then let me see. And they also used, I think, a pick from that to trade up to get Stian Solberg.
Yep, that's right.
That was the other part of it. And then from the Raquel trade, the Ducks got Callie Klang and Tristan Leno.
Yep. So it's aged well.
Yeah.
And Brian Dumoulin is aging well because he is an older player, and there was maybe a little wonder about what he would be this season, but he has delivered. He has delivered. Now, another aging player.
Oh, here we go.
Radko Gudas.
Here we go.
Radko Gudas has just been bad. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I'm going to give you the conclusion right up front. He has been bad, and he has been bad in every key aspect of the game. I mean, his breakouts have been difficult to watch. A lot of mistakes. A lot of, like, boneheaded mistakes. Like, not even like, oh, he was under pressure. It's like, he's a football analogy, like clean pocket for the quarterback, throws a pick, that kind of thing. Does that a lot. And then the rush defending. I don't think it's been good. And then looking at some of the track data, it has not been good. I think that sometimes we overhate his propensity for hip checks a little too much, because there are times where he'll just approach a guy, like he'll just lower his body, he'll just lower his butt as if he's going to hip check him, and the guy will just get rid of the puck. So it does scare guys into getting rid of it sometimes. But overall, like, he has just not been good. I don't know how else to say it. Has he been catastrophically bad? Maybe not. But I can't sit here and tell you he's been a good piece of this team this season.
Yep, I would agree with that completely. I think that we're seeing him age right before our eyes, more or less.
Yeah.
Like, I think that he was really good for this team last year. He was good for the Panthers, was good in these different roles. But, I mean, age comes for everyone. And Radko Gudas is getting up there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just think in some ways, you and I may disagree with this. I feel like the biggest issue is the angles he's taking, and just some of that is, I think, age-related decline. Like, not being able to make the same play that you were able to make a year ago because your game just isn't able to be there. So I just don't think that Gudas... I think we're just seeing him not play well anymore. And I don't know if there's anything that can necessarily be done, I guess.
My thing is, I don't know if it's age, because I think it's just a lot of bad decisions. Like, I think that we see little stretches where when he's just keeping it very simple and he's not trying to go out of his way to ask check people, like, he can still play a reliable game. It's just that, like, it's just very hard for him to stay on schedule. Like, he's just so obsessed with playing a certain way. And then there's the mistakes, and it's like, is he not watching video? Like, I'm sure he is. Like, is he, like, where is the corrective kind of approach? And maybe it's going to come. Like, that's why, again, it's 23 games. We can make certain statements, but, like, let's check back in with him in another 20, because I feel like I've seen enough glimmers where I'm like, okay, he can be better than this. It's just frustrating to see a guy who is counted on, who is relied upon to play a big role, to just not deliver in that role.
Yep.
So, and then Pavel Mintyukov is the guy we should talk about.
I think Mintyukov's had an up and down season.
Here's my Mintyukov take.
Yep. Hit me with it.
This is straight from the hip. This is this is
this is a hip check. This is the ass check.
This is an ass check. I think Mintyukov is just being held back playing in this current setup, in this current system.
Yeah, I could see it.
Like, I think that, yes, he does make mistakes. He's, what, is he 21, 20? Something like that? He's young.
He's the same draft as Gauthier, so 20. Well, I think he just turned 21.
He's young. He's in his second season in the NHL. Like, he is figuring it out. But I think there's just I feel like they're kind of turning him into a glass chipping defenseman a little bit. Like, he's still very good at breaking the puck out. He's still very good at finding those openings and carrying it out or making passes, but there's just a lot of situations where he's forced to dump the puck out, and I just feel like we're not seeing him get to really fly. Like I think back to some of his best moments, whether they're this season or last season, and when you're constantly defending, or when you're constantly defending and or you don't have a partner who can really move the puck that well, you can't activate Minchkov's gift, which is to skate away from the puck, away from pressure.
Yeah.
Be that third man in on the rush or fourth man in or whatever, sneak in on the weak side. Like that is his gift, is joining the rush in a way that other defensemen are just too afraid to. And he's just kind of in a box right now because he can't really do that. He's always defending, or when his team is breaking it out, if it's the other partner breaking it out, it's not a guy who's going to be able to get him the puck. So it's just kind of this vicious cycle for him. But I don't think he's actually been bad. I just think he's more of a victim of circumstance.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
That's kind of why I think it's up and down. Like
Yeah.
I think that he's had some games where he's looked really good, and there's been some games where he's just been caught in his own zone and not defended well in various different situations.
Yeah.
But
Like he's not
Minchkov,
perfect. Yeah.
Like Minchkov, when he's at his best, is kind of an all over the ice type of player.
Yes.
And it feels like he's being reined in a bit too much there. Maybe it is playing with Radko Gudas. Maybe getting him with a player that's more mobile and can cover, it may be a better situation. But getting to what you were talking about, though, with Cam Fowler likely to come back, by the looks of it from our good friend Derek Lee at the Hockey News, he had put out that it looks like probably Minchkov is the person that's going to come out if Cam Fowler comes in the lineup. That I think at practice they had Fowler with Gudas. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it makes me sad because I don't think Minchkov deserves to come out. I also don't think that there's not like a good answer to this, right? Because Lacombe and Zellweger are playing great. They have formed a good pairing. Dumoulin and Hellison have formed a good pairing. And, you really like to see the righty-lefty synergy there. So you're not scratching Radko Gudas. Like, it's just, you go through that process of elimination, and it's like, yeah, I get it. I don't have a better answer, I guess.
It's either Lacombe or Minchkov that have to get scratched here.
I mean, if it was purely like just cutthroat with no actual thought about resume or letter on chest, I mean, I would just scratch Gudas
and play Fowler on the right side. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, but that's just not realistic. So, but I think that this just all shows that someone's got to get traded. I mean, you just have to make room for all these younger players.
Yeah, this shows that a Fowler trade has to be coming.
Yeah, it has to be.
Like, I think back to one of the very first 32 Thoughts where I think Hellison jumping in and having this role kind of makes it even more prominent, but where Elliot Friedman had mentioned when the first time we had heard about this situation was that the Ducks kind of view their young guys and want to get them more ice time. And this is kind of very clearly the situation
the young guys
that they're in.
They're showing that they are deserving of that ice time, which makes it even more imperative to make room for them.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, and then Urho Vakanainen is still hurt, I think.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so.
And then, I mean, goaltending-wise, I think goaltending has been the least of the Ducks' issues. I think goaltending's been good. Like, there's not really a whole lot to say. Like,
Lucas
Shostal
both guys have
looked
been
really good.
Yeah.
Gibson has looked good also. Like, I think Gibson's doing a good job. If he's trying to play his way for a trade, I think he's doing a good job of that to increase his value.
Is it possible for anyone to mention Gibson without also mentioning a trade in the same breath?
Nope.
Well, especially with the way that the Avalanche can't stop a beach ball. Yeah, it makes you think. And then the other thing I want to highlight, since we're over an hour in, but the power play is a strength of this team. Like just full stop. Rich Clune has come in as the assistant coach, as the power play whisperer, and he has just pulled all the right strings. Like, they have just consistently been able to make adjustments. They have consistently been able to put the right players out there. They have consistently been able to put guys in the right spots. Like, it has just all worked, and it is great to see. It is, you just love to see it, because I can't remember the last time the Ducks had a good power play. I really can't. Yep. I feel like the entire time we've been doing this podcast, the Ducks have had a bad power play. So the penalty kill has been, I don't even know, I don't know what's going on with the penalty kill. So I'll just let you touch on that if you want to.
Let me double check. It's not been great though. It's gotten better. I'll say that from where it was at one point during the season. I like how you've now forced me to become
I straight up skip the penalty kill when I'm watching games. Like I just don't even watch it. I'm just nope, this is not my problem.
The Ducks are still league worst in expected goals against per 60 on the penalty kill. And so
yeah.
The broadcast has mentioned that I think Brett Thompson, there we go. Could not think of his last name for whatever reason right there. But has made some tweaks where they're pressuring a bit better. I think this last maybe 5-game stretch, the penalty kill has looked better. I think they've done a better job of getting pucks out of the zone. I think that's the biggest flaw with this team overall on the penalty kill is it feels like at times when the other team gets set up that the Ducks are not in a good position to be able to create battles to win pucks back and get the puck out of the zone. It feels like they are just stuck in their zone and waiting for a shot that is either going to be covered or the rebound's going to go to a corner where the Ducks are just closer to it. And so, or waiting for a mistake. And so they're not necessarily being able to create a turnover and clear the puck and create havoc with that. They're more waiting for a mistake to happen.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like when I watch the penalty kills that have given trouble to the Ducks this season, it feels like it's always the penalty kills that are high pressure. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I feel like the Ducks' own penalty kill plays the opposite style, where they are very content to sit back. And I wonder if that is the best approach. But
Yep.
I don't care about the penalty kill, so that is...
There you go.
I mean, the penalty kill to me, it's like, okay, either play pressure or play back or play some weird hybrid. Like, it's just, I don't know.
You're in a bad situation.
Yeah, it's like, what makes a good penalty kill? Is it just having good penalty killers and a good goalie? Is that really it? Because I'm not sure. I'm not
sure. You want to know who the best penalty killer has been for the Ducks this season from a guard perspective?
Let me guess. Jansen Harkins?
Nope. Alex Killorn.
Yeah, but how much is he killing penalties, though?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm telling you, I don't know anything about the penalty kill.
Wow.
It does not exist to me. I will say the one benefit of watching the penalty kill is I can see, it's a great way to see the goalie, like just get an extended look at the goalie's movement and like how they're looking. But I can't sit through more than one because it's just, I can't do it.
So from a forward perspective, Alex Killorn has 26 minutes on the penalty kill so far this season. The highest from a forward is Isaac Lundestrom at 49 minutes.
Wow.
So about half of Isaac Lundestrom, with Lundestrom starting kills typically. But yeah, Killorn's played a decent amount on the penalty kill.
Do you have any quick Isaac Lundestrom takes?
I think as a fourth line center, he's been fine.
Well, he's a third line center now.
That's where I was going with it. I think third line is too high for him in the lineup. I think that it's worked well with him with Gauthier and Leeson, but at the end of the day, like having him in that position is not where he should be. He should be down in the fourth line.
It's just so funny how he is just the same player. Like he is never going to change. He's gotten a little stronger. He's gotten a little faster.
Actually, hold up. I'm going to give him some credit here.
He had some really nice plays against Ottawa.
Against LA also. I'm thinking about there was one chance that he created where, you know how he always does that, enter the zone, go wide, go around the net.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking about, yeah.
Go around the net, and he would always just try the wraparound, and it would never, or just throw it in front of the net.
Or he would end up back at the blue line.
Yeah, but like he actually picked his head up and made a pass to, I mean, it also
was
probably
it Zellweger? It's
also probably playing with Olin Zellweger, who's going to jump into that space.
Yeah, he's going to recognize.
Hit Zellweger in the slot, who gets a really glorious scoring opportunity as a result.
Okay, that was the one I was thinking of then, yes.
Like, I'll give him credit. He's now he's added a new little element to that site.
You mean just making the pass that...
Yeah,
it's funny.
He does all this hard work to get below the goal line and get around the net. And then just like that's the frustrating part is nothing happens from it.
How many shots on goal do you think he averages a game?
Isaac Lundestrom, 1 maybe.
I legit can't. All his shots must be like bad angle shots when he's circling the net. Like so, I cannot remember a shot of his this season.
Let's see. Shots on goal. Isaac Lundestrom.
I'm gonna say 1.7.
Lower.
Oh my god. 1.2?
Lower.
0.8? This is per
well,
60 minutes.
It's like 0.99 probably. I'm just looking at pure shots on goal total from Hockey Reference. He has 20 shots on goal in 21 games.
I really want. I want someone to put together a montage of all these shots. I just want to see where they're coming from.
He has 34 shot attempts in 21 games.
That's like a week for Cutter Gauthier.
Cutter Gauthier has 132 shot attempts.
I was not that far off. Oh, yeah. Isaac Lindstrom does one thing really, really well. You can maybe throw in face-offs and like being
He's good
responsible.
He's good defensively.
He's a fine 4C who is a fine 4C. There's just no one
who can make us laugh.
We don't need to add anything onto that.
No.
But yeah, and Lucas Dostal has just been
He's been otherworldly.
Just amazing and good. And yeah. So yeah, that's the lay of the land. I honestly think we covered all of it.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something.
We
didn't do any Ross Johnston takes, but that's fine.
I think he's been okay this season. I still wouldn't want him in my lineup. I think that slot could be better used for other players, but he hasn't been as bad as previous.
I mean, how
years.
many minutes is he playing a game? Like 10?
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, we need to talk about players like in proportion to their ice time, and it's like we don't need to.
Do you want to touch what happened in Seattle or no?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
There's that.
I'm good.
I left it open for you. Let's get to questions.
No, you didn't leave it open. You tried to get me to bite on the hook, and I would not bite.
Let's get to questions here. Also, we didn't touch on this, but Leo Carlson injured, but hopefully he's coming back. There's not really any.
Is he
word
concussed?
On that. Unclear.
Is he concussed?
I mean, the fact that it's upper body makes me think potentially because it was his hip that went into the post.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Troy Terry? I guess we've already talked about him.
He's been just electric.
He has been awesome. Like
he's just
I feel like this is like the best Troy Terry we've ever seen.
I think he had like maybe a 5-game lull there where he didn't look amazing, but this last game against Ottawa, he was dominant.
He has 6 goals this season. I wonder what his shooting percentage is.
I have Hockey Reference still open, so I can get that to you. He is at 10.5%.
Okay. What's his career? Like 13 or something?
His career shooting percentage is...
It is 13.
13.
Wow. I nailed
Impressive.
it. Yeah, he's due for a little regression. So...
Yeah. I mean, he's at 19 points in 23 games. Like, he is on pace to be in the 60 to 70 point range.
Yeah. Yeah, it's remarkable. It's actually really remarkable to me how, we spent all this time talking about, you have to put Zegras and McTavish and all these guys in the proper position and even on the D talking about like Minchikov and stuff. Like Troy Terry, you just like set it and forget it. Like you just put him anywhere and he will just be Troy Terry. It is remarkable. And that's the sign of a mature player. I mean, honestly, like that is the sign of a star level mature player is that you can just play them anywhere and they will be good.
Yep. All right. Want to get to questions?
Yeah.
All right.
An hour and 18 in.
We'll try to blitz through them as best we can. But
we're
going to start with...
I'm not in a rush because this is my curtain call potentially. So
for 2024, not in total.
Not forever. But yes.
Yeah. All right. So our good friend Leeser, we're going to start with our Patreon exclusive Discord. Go to patreon.com/crashthepond. Said, is Cronin being the Mark Jackson of the Ducks an apt comparison?
Do you know what that means?
Yeah. Mark Jackson was the coach of the Golden State Warriors before Steve Kerr.
Wow. I'm always surprised by your NBA knowledge.
I just have general sports knowledge.
I mean, isn't that kind of how it feels? Where it's like Cronin is he is the guy who comes in and kind of like helps them take a step, become a little like they become mature defensively, but then you're missing that next little layer. It's actually a huge layer. I mean, because Mark Jackson made the Warriors a playoff team. He made them a stout defensive team, but it was clear by the end that their offensive potential was limited. And then Steve Kerr comes in and builds off of that, but then unlocks the offense. And it's like, I feel like it could be wrong, but I feel like that's Greg Cronin's destiny with this team, which is not a bad destiny.
Yeah, I think overall my view of this is I want to see where they're at by the end of the season. I think it's trending that way, but I do want to see kind of we're a quarter of the way through the season. There's still 3/4 of the season left.
Yeah, that's the take right now. Yeah.
One of the things I look back on is last year I had the hot take of Vancouver was not going to make the playoffs and looked awful as a result. And the funny thing is that their underlying numbers were not good for that first quarter of the season, and it was very much them playing a punching above their weight. But they started playing better as the season went on, and I think for me that was a shining example of these numbers aren't set in stone. They are very much evolving as the season goes along, and that teams can improve, they can adjust, they can do all of these things as seasons go on. So I think for me, that is the big thing with Greg Cronin this year is how does he create a situation where this Ducks team can improve as the season goes on.
Yeah, some would say evolving hockey.
Yeah. Shaken Wing said, how do we create better accountability for the Ducks to actually tell us information like players being hurt? I mean, there's not really any way. The NHL, the only way that would happen is the NHL forcing teams to disclose that information.
Well, I also think there just needs to be more interest because if you look at the teams with bigger followings, they're not necessarily giving more injury information, but there's more updates, there's more transparency.
Sure. But it's still upper body injury, lower body injury.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that, you even hear about a guy coming back and skating. Like for example, with the Ducks, you don't even hear that.
We hear it from Derek, but yeah, if they're on the road, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, we're missing half the picture. So all this to say that it's a combination of the NHL's rules being what they are, allowing teams to get away with, I'm not going to say lying, but telling not even half-truths. And then the team there's just not a lot of scrutiny. There's just not a lot of interest relatively for this team. So,
yep. Our good friend Jack Jane said, since American Thanksgiving is usually when people start to take stock in numbers and standings, who are 3 Ducks players you are giving flowers to, and who are 3 players you're throwing tomatoes at so far?
I love how throwing tomatoes has become a thing.
Flowers for me would be Cutter Gauthier. It would be Olen Zellweger. And I'll go Brian Dumoulin.
Wow. Should I be the tomato?
Sure.
I don't want to do another 3. Although I feel like you kind of picked your 3 for trying to predict who I would pick.
Not fully. Like Troy Terry was the only one I was debating there.
I'll give flowers. This is not going to shock anyone, but I will give flowers to Trevor Zegras. Like, can we just give this man some some positive affirmation?
Yep.
It's only ever tomatoes.
God,
give him flowers.
Can people just stop with him? Like, I'm gonna get on my wait. Let me get on my soapbox real quick here. This man goes and scores a shootout goal, and he is someone who got like a game misconduct for throwing his stick into the crowd and celebrating that. He's been said that he is there's the whole thing with Jack Hughes and Instagram hockey, and now Trevor Zegras being brought up with that. He's someone that's brought up as being someone that's too showy, so he has a situation where he doesn't get showy with his celebration, and then people come at him and are like, he doesn't want to be there.
Where's the joy?
And then someone asks him, like Zach Kavanaugh, who's doing good work with the Sporting Tribune, like shout out to him. I had a little sit down with Zegras today and kind of asked him like how he was doing. He's like living the dream here and like genuinely was stoked. And people are reading into that as being like someone saying living the dream that they aren't enjoying, like in the way that they're not meaning it. And it's just like, holy shit! Like this is a guy that cannot do anything without people scrutinizing it. Like
it's crazy. He's
a guy
crazy.
that does something fun and people are like one trick pony. He's a guy that does something good and doesn't celebrate and they're like he's miserable. He might celebrate and say, "Oh, act like you've been there before." Like I'm convinced that nothing Trevor Zegras can do will result in the general hockey discourse being like, "Oh, that's really cool."
I don't think you've ever had a better take.
Like, holy crap.
Because it is so true that it's like, remember when he was too showboaty, like even before he was in the NHL, like in the World Juniors, and then with his gold celebration in the NHL, and now that he's, maybe a little older, maybe a little wiser, and is like, yeah, just shootout goals don't really move me anymore. Now it's like, oh, where's the joy? It's like, guys, can we just pick a side here? Like maybe not everything this guy does needs to be criticized. And the other thing I wanted to say is that I tweeted something about Zegras recently. I forget what it was, but someone was like, he's not as good as people say, or like he's overrated. I'm like, how can he be overrated? Who thinks he's good at this point? Like,
do you read anything written about him?
Read anything that's written about Trevor Zegras. No one thinks he's good anymore. Everyone, like, it's almost like the reverse Barkov, where it's like, if everyone says you're overrated, maybe you're actually not overrated, and maybe it's something else, right? Like it's like when everyone's saying Barkov is most underrated, maybe you're not underrated anymore. Maybe you're just properly rated. Like, who is out here saying Trevor Zegras is this elite player? Like, no one is saying that. Even me, his most ardent defender. Yes, I'm the biggest Trevor Zegras defender. Like, I think he is trending to be an excellent 2C on a cup team. I don't have him as an elite 1C or anything like that. So anyway, it's just when I see someone like just retort to me, "Oh, he's overrated," I'm like, do you even know what overrated means? Has that word just lost all meaning to this generation of idiots? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So wait. Oh, who are we throwing tomatoes at?
Tomatoes.
I think Gudis gets a tomato.
I don't want to throw a tomato at him though, because it'll get stuck in his mustache, and that would be mean.
Oh, I thought you meant he would hip check you or ass check you.
Well, I mean, I can just run away. We're not on the ice. If we're on the ice, I'm in trouble.
Even if he's lost a step, his lost a step is still way faster than you.
Oh yeah, he would kill me. Like he would. Should we throw tomatoes at McTavish? I feel like that's mean.
Yeah, I think we have. You have to.
At McTavish?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, he's just been so bad. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how else to say it. But I will throw tomatoes at Gudis because he's like harming the team out there. Okay. It's not even like, oh, he's just been miscast. It's like, no,
who's getting your third tomato?
Well, I didn't actually throw him at McTavish. That's you.
You did. You agreed.
Third tomato.
It's a collective.
Third tomato. This is gonna make me seem like an evil person. But I'm gonna preface it with this. Are
you going where I think you're going?
Okay, I'm gonna preface it with this. I don't think anyone on this team has been all that bad, like individually, except for a couple of guys.
The two mentioned.
You know who's been a nothing burger and who was very touted by the Twitter reply people? The Twitter
Mr. 18 Tux?
The Twitter reply guy population, the lizard people. Robbie Fabry. Chuck a tomato at the hurt guy. I mean, it's shitty timing because he's on injured reserve, but what has he done? Like, I get it, you know, he's skate hard, shoot puck, right? That's the Cronin mantra: skate hard, shoot puck. But like he has not really impressed me at all.
I mean, it's turning into basically like what we expected. Of this was just getting paid for a cap dump.
Like, yes, he can get into spots and he can shoot pucks and blah blah blah, but like, he's just a fourth liner.
Yeah.
Throw a tomato at the hurt guy. Is this going to get us canceled? I'm kidding, by the way. I'm kidding.
Oh,
right?
Derek, our good friend Derek Lee, we're not going to have time for this. Asked us to do Four Nation face-off roster prediction. Maybe we'll do a Patreon episode of doing a roster breakdown.
Am I the only one who doesn't care about this tournament?
I've started to care. I wasn't, and now I've started to get there. We'll do a Patreon episode.
It's very hard for me to care about international events that are not IHF sanctioned for some reason. I don't know why that is. It doesn't feel. It feels pointless.
The last World Cup was really fun. This one,
yeah, but you know why?
Team North America.
Yeah, where's the like?
Man, I wish I bought that jersey.
There's only 4 nations. Like, we're missing. Yeah. We're missing. I mean, we're missing the current reigning world champions, the Czech Republic. So yeah, it's just. I'll get excited when it actually happens, but like people are arguing like, oh, who should be USA's third string goalie? It's like, come on.
All right. Tommy Six Vet said, what would you put as the over-under for number of Ducks players traded this season? I'd put it at 2.5.
Yeah. I think that Fowler is a lock.
I think Gibson and one more is a lock.
One of Vetrano and Dumoulin is probably getting traded.
Yeah, most likely. There's also potential for both to get extended.
There is, but out of those two and Gibson, I feel like one will get traded.
And that's why I think 2.5 is the number.
Also, none could get traded.
Yeah. I would take the under on that, by the way.
Honestly, I think 1.5 might be more fair. Just like, I think 1 is for sure. I think
maybe you just set the line fully at 2.
Yeah, maybe.
And two is just a push.
Yeah.
That's probably the way. All right. Leeser said, how would you solve the conundrum on the crowded blue line with the imminent return of Cam Fowler? Trade Fowler.
There you go. Trade Fowler.
Yeah. Olaf is attacked. Said, I will ask for the 4th night in a row. Is Alex Killorn getting too much hate? Yes.
I think that I will say I gave him a lot of shit to start the season, and he has played a lot better. And didn't this happen last year?
Last year, he broke his hand in preseason.
Oh. Well, I just feel like maybe he is a slow starter. Is that possible?
It's possible. I think he wasn't good when he came back. But yeah, Alex Killorn has actually been good for this team.
I feel like he's a guy who needs to play like 20 games before kind of hitting his stride.
And then our good friend Lou said, do you think any of the Ducks make the 4 nations?
Probably not. No one for Canada.
I think Leo probably goes because they want to take...
For Sweden.
Sweden, they want to take that player. To me, that's the only player. And he's been mentioned, I think, on 32 Thoughts I think they... Elliot and Kyle, and I'm forgetting the third person they brought in, but all 3 of them had Leo make... No, it was...
The producer?
No, it was not Amo. And also, I don't think he's the producer anymore. He moved on to a different... I think he's at the Nation Network.
He wasn't good enough?
It's whoever does Hockey Night with...
Well, whatever. This doesn't matter.
They all had Leo. David Amber, there we go. They all had Leo making the team in their guesses for the predictions.
What about Troy Terry for Team USA?
That is I don't think he goes.
He's not having a great point production season. Also,
he's I think 18th for American-born scoring.
I just don't know where to find a reliable list of predictions because I feel like I see the projected rosters every day, but it's just like NHL.com, and I'm like,
yeah. I mean, they come out. The rosters come out tomorrow. I think I would be surprised if Terry makes it, but not shocked. I think that any other player on the Ducks besides him and Leo, I would be shocked if they make it. I mean, here's a question. Do you think Vetrano could make Team USA?
No, come on.
If they decide that they want to take grinders.
Is he... Come on. Don't do this. Don't make me throw tomatoes at someone who's played fine. Who's been a respectable bottom sixer.
Okay.
It is kind of crazy that he is on this top line, but... Is that a cat purring?
Yes, it's Salem sniffing.
He is on a top line, but what does he I guess he skates after pucks and can get shots off.
It's just crazy. If the line's going well, then
I know.
With it.
It's just crazy how. Anyway, no, if he is on your best on best team, your team is not very good. I mean, I can read off the name of forwards that this is the NHL.com. Okay.
I mean, did you see Chris Johnson had a vague leak that Team USA is not taking just all their skilled players? I guess he believes
Brock Nelson has multiple 30 goal seasons. He's not Frank Vetrano.
Sure.
Come on.
I was just that. I said I would be shocked if he made it.
I mean, I agree because Team USA is also kind of notorious for not taking all their skill guys.
Yeah, that's why I feel like Vetrano would fit if they want it.
Frank Vetrano is pushing that.
Yeah, but if they are looking for a guy that will play a 4th line role that will be an agitator against Canada.
Frank Vetrano is not moving any needles against Sidney Crosby.
I agree. He should not make the team. I agree.
That is a white flag.
I am not arguing for him to make it.
If he makes the team, I will devour a hat on live stream. I will eat a hat if that happens. No chance. No chance that happens.
I got a few questions from from Blue Sky, so we'll go there, and then Twitch and YouTube will go there. This is going to be a long one, but It's your last one, so let's have some fun. Let's see. The Rect said, thanks for your answer about Mijatovic last time. Agree with Felix about Connor Smith. Just sad to see the 33rd overall pick struggle so badly in San Diego, and Cristal shines in the WHL. But speaking of the goals, what the F is going on there? I simply refuse to believe that they have the worst roster in the AHL.
I haven't watched very much of the goals at all this season, so I can't say. Sorry. What was the rest of the question?
It was just about kind of how
what
the
tweet
goals,
are you? What blue sky are you looking at? Because I can't even.
He replied to me.
But which one though? Which
the
post?
Rect? He replied on my post from yesterday.
The RKT?
Yeah.
That's not anyway. Okay.
I said the Rect. I read it out that way for funsies. Airhick said,
speaking of goals, what the F is going on there? I mean, I don't know, but what I will say is that the goals have a lot of young players, and like the AHL is not necessarily kind to those kind of teams. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I just don't like, I hate to say this because it is a bit of a hand wave, but AHL wins and losses, like, we need to stop putting that much stock into that.
Are you going to prioritize development or wins and losses?
Like, those teams are about developing certain players, and that's all that you really care about with those teams. But we'll see. Yeah. I mean, once I eventually do my goals catch up, I'll let you know.
Airhick said, the biggest issue this team has from an eye test to him is clean passes. It's an issue of not making the best choice, not getting into good spots to receive a pass, or is it a systems-based flaws?
I think there's an element of both. The system has been problematic. And like we were saying earlier, you know, because sometimes you're spending so much time defending, it makes it so that you're having to chip pucks out. You can't just get a clean pass off. And so, yes, that is problematic, but I think there are certain players like Radko Gudas who are not making the best choice consistently. And there are other players who are not getting into good positions to receive a pass because they're stuck in the zone. And there are other players who are forced to chip it out a lot, like Olin Zellweger, because they're just having to defend or they're stuck on their offside and they have a little less time and space to work with. So,
yep. And then Ginger Wolf, who's a name that has been around for a long time, first on Blue Sky, but someone that goes way back for us on Twitter and all the different places we've been, said PDOcast recently discussed a potential new trend in going 11 forward 7D, and of course made me think of Dallas Haken's line combinations. He is widely regarded as one of the worst NHL coaches in history, but was he actually just way ahead of the curve?
The PDOcast said that?
Yeah, I haven't listened to it.
How many teams are doing that? What are we defining as a trend?
Yeah, maybe I'll listen to that just to see kind of how it was brought up. But
sometimes they say some wacky shit, like especially when Drance is on there. So I don't know. I mean, they do pay attention to a lot of the league. Like I don't, but I'm just like quickly scrolling through every daily face-off lineup sheet, and I'm not seeing a lot of 11 forward combinations. So I don't know where this trend is coming from, but I also don't like the trend. 12-6.
Yeah, I agree.
What is with people trying to reinvent the wheel constantly? Like it just drives me crazy.
Yeah. So, all right, now we're going to get to Twitch and YouTube. So, give you the whole spiel here of find us at twitch.tv/crashspawn, where if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime gaming sub each and every month. You can be just like our good friend SJ Hawking, who resubbed over there. So, thank you so much for that. Get special emotes in the chat, special badges next to your name, or if you have a YouTube account, and yes, everyone listening to this, I know you have YouTube accounts. Please go find us at youtube.com/crashthepond, where you can subscribe to our channel to get notified when we go live. You can like our videos, and it all helps out in ways more than you can imagine. It's completely free to you. So let's get a little like spike right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button if you're enjoying this. But RoochFan20 said, to sort of piggyback on Felix's easy offense thing, how much of Cronin forcing square pegs into round holes will we see him being replaced by a coach in the mold of Rich Clune? I don't really understand the question.
What is the question there?
Yeah, I think he's getting at kind of, do you think that this ends up with Rich Clune replacing
No, Rich Clune hasn't even been a head coach.
Yeah.
Has Rich Clune been a head coach at any level?
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
and then
maybe
he also said
maybe he becomes the coach eventually, but I don't see it.
And then he also said, have the Ducks reverted back to Carlisle hockey, and is that an upgrade over Aikens hockey? I don't think this is really Carlisle hockey.
No.
I like. There's a lot more of puck pursuits that Carlisle hockey didn't necessarily.
Also,
have.
that was almost 10 years ago now. Like,
yeah, like I think people see
the game has changed a lot, so I just don't.
I think people see dump and chase and they want to equate it with Carlisle. And it's not the same. Like there is an overall trend that of teams maybe dumping it in a bit more, but it's more so teams are just kind of copycatting what the Panthers did. And it's about having an aggressive forecheck and all-out attack with that type of stuff.
They really want to play like the Panthers.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of teams in the NHL are doing the same. Like, I think
Yeah.
the Leafs have become more Panther-y this season.
Yep.
So
Yep. Hardcore Luch said, question, do we find a 35 goal scorer this season?
I'm going to say no.
The
The odds aren't looking good. And the goods are looking odd.
Yeah, they're the leading goal scorers at 6, so yeah, probably not 35.
Yeah. No.
B Doddle said, I think the idea is that getting your this isn't a question. This is
let me ask you this. Do you
Okay.
think there will be a 30 goal scorer?
I think one guy will get to 30, yes.
Who? Name that guy.
I'll go Troy Terry.
Good guess. Good
Yep.
guess.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Rooch Fan 20 said, is Ross Johnson better than a Nikita Nesterenko or Pavel Regenda?
Maybe not better, but is he that much worse? What have those guys done?
Yeah.
Like, where's this faith
Like-
coming from? In
Like,
these,
I think
these
Ross
randos?
has been fine. Like, I would
Yeah.
play Colangelo over Ross.
Yeah, because Colangelo can do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Nikita Nesterenko, sure. But Pavel Regenda, like, I get so tired of people just, like, recycling the same names from the minor leagues. It's like, yeah, Ross Johnson is Ross Johnson, but, like, what is Pavel Regenda at this point? He's an AHLer.
Yep.
So,
All right. SJ Hawking said, has any team had worse coaching than the Ducks over the last 10 seasons?
that is a great question.
Yeah, there's
last-
for sure. There are definitely
Hold on, the
teams.
last 10? Okay, so that goes back to 14-15.
Oh, they had Bruce, so no.
So Bruce, well, no, but hold on. Bruce Boudreau left after 16. So this is still 8 seasons out of 10.
Sure.
Cronin,
Buffalo for sure.
Cronin, Aikens, and Carlisle. I would put that against a lot of bad trios.
There are for sure some worse.
Cronin is at best like kind of a neutral,
Yeah.
but Aikens and Carlisle were not that. Although, hey,
Yeah.
Carlisle got them to the conference final. Just saying.
It was a Boudreau team.
Was it?
It was closer.
Was it? Antoine
All
Vermette.
right. Nicholas Rage said, question, how many props does Verbeek get for his 40 chest with hanging on to Gibson with some teams needing goaltending now?
I don't know if that was 4D chess, but is he even going to trade John Gibson?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's looking more likely, but I feel like we've said that a million times and it hasn't happened. So wake me up when it does happen.
Yeah. Mike Costley said, with the news that Ranson wants $14 million on his next deal, I missed that news, but good to know. On his next deal, should the Ducks trade for him? And if so, what would get the deal done? Feel like the Ducks need a superstar player like that.
I agree that they need a superstar. I don't know if you trade for him.
Agreed.
Because if you trade for him and he doesn't re-sign, then you look really silly. I think you just take your run at him in free agency.
Yep.
And
I would definitely give him that deal at 14 mil. We've kind of looked at the Ducks cap situation.
Would you pay him 15 mil to get him to sign with the Ducks?
Oh,
It's just another, what's another million?
Exactly. It's just another. I probably would.
Yeah.
I would prefer to stay in the 14.
Yeah.
But I mean, hell, like you gotta they have so much cap space opening up.
They do. And again, cap going up and going to continue to go up. So,
And like Beckett Seneca is going to come into this team also and going to be on a very cap friendly deal for the vast majority of that Rantanen deal.
cap friendly. Yep.
So Nicholas Rage also said, do you think Cronin can level up if he just finally shaves his head completely?
I mean, I'm not going to judge the man.
Okay.
Let him do what he wants.
Let him live his life. Rooch 20 said, thoughts on Beckett getting snubbed by Team Canada in the World Juniors?
Is it bad? I don't care at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's just, it doesn't matter. It's a tournament. Like, I'm
He'll
sure
play.
he's,
He'll now play for his junior team and won't have that disrupted. Like
I'm sure he'll be bummed about it, but like, I don't think it matters at all.
I think it's a bummer from not being able to watch Canada and see him play for them because it is a high profile tournament and it's fun to watch. But from a global perspective, like, doesn't matter.
It doesn't. No.
Yeah. Matty Gibbons said, if they ice Vetrano, Strome, Terry, and Gauthier, Zegras, Killorn, what does the Leo line look like?
Ooh,
I would do McTavish on the wing and Leo at center, or flip them however you want. I mean, Leo was basically playing wing.
Who's the other wing? Colangelo?
I would do Colangelo there. You could do Leeson. I mean, if you really wanted to and help him, you could do Lundestrom, I guess.
I'm kind of done with the Leeson experiment.
But sure, put Colangelo there.
Give me Colangelo, put McTavish on the wing. Hell, put Carlson on the wing, like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, put those two together. They can figure it out, right? That seems to be the thing with Zegras. That he's always the one to...
The benefit there with that line being there is that you have two very good lines at that point. Right?
Yeah, it takes pressure off of those guys.
Because you have two lines that can really drive play where they can kind of more settle in and they're going to get a little bit of softer matchups. You have two high-quality players with each other, have a third person that works. Like, I think it just puts both those guys in much better positions where they don't have the pressure of everything else.
Also, for Ducks coaching, we forgot Bob Murray. He was how many games did he coach?
It was like 15, 20 maybe.
All I remember is that he had that, like...
He looked red.
Well, yeah, but...
Oh, the sweater?
The sweater. He was ahead of his time with that.
The sweater vest?
Because now you see a lot of coaches doing that underneath
what about Brian Hayward's turtleneck? It's a good look.
I want to know who is dressing these guys because there
really
are some
like that look.
There are some wild ass outfits, like the one where it was like a hoodie. It was like a double hoodie. It was like a zipper hoodie with a hoodie underneath. It was just like
that from Allers was rough.
That was like what are we doing here?
Rough.
What are we doing here?
Logan said, "Question: How much better is Zellweger than Hudson?"
He's not.
Wow.
Like at most. At worst, whatever word you want to use, they are like equal, I would say.
Wow.
Also, isn't Hudson younger?
I don't know.
Or are they the same draft? I don't know.
But, all right. That's going to do it for questions, though.
People just love to hate on Hudson. I think just to get a rise out of me.
I think that is more so what it is.
Oh,
They're
by
both
the way,
very good.
I love... Yeah, this is why. Now the trolls have come out. By the way, Patrick Laine tonight, did you see that goal?
I did. It was really, really nice. Really fun moment for him.
That was that shot.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I had just opened my laptop to watch just watch a little bit of the game. And they go on the power play. And I distinctly remember thinking, oh, he is like, they're giving him too much space in that right circle. And Lane Hudson passed it to him and he just rips one. So... that was cool to see. I love when hockey delivers those kind of moments.
Yep.
Knowing everything he's been through. Anything else? Any other things?
Nope. Nothing really else that I can think of.
You might have to do a blind ranking here.
All right.
Should I make you do an NBA one? I feel like
no.
You've demonstrated enough NBA basketball knowledge where I feel like I'm going to have you do an NBA ranking. Isn't this not the logical conclusion endpoint of you knowing the NBA? Is me quizzing you on it?
Fine.
Do you want to do a soccer one just to counterbalance it?
Sure.
Okay. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's dealer's choice.
Okay, I'm going to start with the basketball one. So This is a blind ranking. I'm going to give you a player. You have to rank them 1 through 5 without knowing what comes next. But here's the thing. These are NBA players from the 2000s. So you will probably know them more than current players.
Okay.
First up, Blake Griffin. First off, every time I'm going to give you a player, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you know who this is?
Yes.
Okay.
I will put him as 3.
3. Okay. Blake Griffin at 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this.
Oklahoma great.
Wow, you know what college he went to?
Yeah.
What the hell? Okay. Okay, give me one other Blake Griffin fact.
He played for the Clippers and was part of Lob City there.
Wow.
Didn't he go to
Wow.
after the Clippers? Didn't he go to Detroit?
Wow. Oh my God.
Is he in Brooklyn now?
Why is he your 3? He's retired now, I think.
Oh, okay, I don't
Why
know.
is he? Why is he your 3?
I don't
Why not
know.
higher? Blake
I
Griffin
was
is
thinking
sick.
about going. I was thinking about going higher, but I don't know who else is coming.
Okay, Jimmy Butler. Do you know who this is?
Yes, he is a little bit after I would have been paying somewhat of attention though, but I know he's good. He's on the Miami Heat right now. Was he on the Bucks? No, he was on the Bulls before, right?
Yes. Wow. I am stunned.
I'll put him at 2.
Okay. 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 Kawhi Leonard. Do you know who this is?
Yes, I know who Kawhi Leonard is. Played for San Diego State. Was drafted by the Spurs. Was traded to Toronto. Then ended up with the Clippers. I'm going Kawhi at 1.
Do you have his basketball reference up in front of you?
I legitimately don't.
Wow, this is like a sensible
You
ranking.
have to remember college basketball is something I've somewhat paid attention to over the years because of USC.
Okay, you won't know who this is.
Okay.
Karl Anthony Towns.
I know the name. I don't really know him as a player at all. He is right after probably I would have paid any sort of attention, but was he on the Celtics? Ever?
No.
Or no?
No,
Okay.
he was
5.
not.
5.
5. Yeah, that seems fair. And your number 4 is Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
I know you know who that is.
I do.
For good and bad reasons. I like your ranking though. I think I'm good with it.
Did I impress you?
I am very impressed. I kind of want to do another one, but I'm gonna go with a different tact here.
The other thing my college roommates were also really into basketball.
I mean, still, you could have just not listened. Like you could have just.
Yeah.
Would you rather do football midfielders or another NBA ranking?
Football midfielders.
Okay. Angel Di Maria.
Angel Di Maria. I'll go 3.
3. Okay. Bruno Fernandez.
I'll go 2.
2.
No, he can't be
Too late.
4.
Too
4.
late.
4.
Okay, 4. Pedri.
Why can't I think of who I'll go 5.
He looks young. 5. Andrea Pirlo. That has to be 1. That has to be 1. And then Paul Pogba is your 2.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I'm good with it.
Okay, I'm gonna give you another NBA.
You can do it. Yeah, we can do one more NBA.
People rather would hear you struggle through those. Although I guess you didn't really struggle. James Harden. Do you know who that is?
Yes, I do. He played for UCLA, then was drafted by OKC, was part of their group, then went to Houston.
Wait, did he play? I thought he played for.
Oh no,
Arizona
ASU.
State.
Sorry, ASU.
Okay.
As I was saying that, I was like, oh, whoops, wrong there.
Wow.
ASU.
Big.
Pac-12 though.
Pac-12. Yes.
RIP. I'll go Harden 2.
Ooh. Honestly, he's
very good.
He has a very bad playoff legacy, but his resume is quite strong.
I mean, I remember that team with OKC being so good.
Yeah. He also has an MVP. Does he have multiple MVPs?
Well, it was him, KD, and Westbrook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Paul Pierce. Do you know who that is?
I do. He was on the Celtics. I will go 3.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Paul Pierce fan. Maybe it's just because he has a shitty podcast. Or he is just a shitty part of his podcast. It's a better way of putting it. Number 3. Okay. Kyrie Irving pops up again. You should just go. You should just go automatic 5 with Kyrie Irving.
I went 4. 5. Fine.
Yeah,
you're right.
He sucks. Ben Wallace. Do you know who that is?
Isn't he a center? Was he on the Pistons?
Yes. He is a legendary piece of that. What were they called again? The Pistons teams. Anyway,
wasn't that the team that beat the Lakers in the final?
Yeah. They're like one of the best defensive teams ever.
Yeah.
Okay. Why am I chiming in? This is about you.
Who's number 1?
I'm inserting. Oh, this is a good one. Vince Carter is your number 1.
Oh, I'm good with that. Fun fact, though, speaking of KD, guess who beat him in the NCAA tournament when he was at Texas?
UCLA?
USC.
Oh, that's right. Why did I... Say UCLA. Why would
Wow.
you care about that?
Yeah. USC
Oh.
beat Texas in the NCAA tournament that year.
You have to do another one just because I saw who just came up when I hit refresh.
Oh, fine.
And there's only one right answer. I just want you to know this.
Okay.
Stephen Curry.
1.
There you go. Wait, do you know who that is?
Yes, I know who Steph Curry is. Played for Davidson.
Why, you know it's college? How? How? Honestly, that is more impressive than anything you could have said about his NBA career. Okay, I'm going to ask you this.
Okay.
If you answer this correctly, I'm shutting it down. I don't think you'll get it. What rank was Steph Curry drafted at?
Like in the draft?
Yeah.
I have no clue. I'll guess like 27.
No, it wasn't that low. I think it was.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was 7th.
Okay.
So, but
Yeah, I have no clue.
he went behind like Ricky Rubio. So that's all
Yeah.
you need to know. Klay Thompson also in this ranking. Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
Yes, I know who Klay Thompson is.
Also, why is he in
from
the
Golden State
Why is he in the 2000s NBA
Do you know?
players?
Do you know where Klay Thompson played college? Because I do. Washington State.
Washington State. Yeah.
Pac-12.
Okay, Pac-12. Where are you ranking him?
We're doing Klay Thompson. I'll go 3.
3. Yeah, fair. Okay, next up, Kevin Garnett. Ooh.
2.
What can you tell me about Kevin Garnett?
Kev played for the Timberwolves, then went to the Celtics.
Wow.
Did he go anywhere else after the Celtics?
He went back to the Wolves
Okay.
for like a minute.
Did not play in college.
That's right. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. What the hell? Okay, Blake Griffin is back in our lives.
What spots do I have open?
You have 4 and 5, so
4.
4. Okay. Your number 5 is Paul George. This is actually a perfect ranking. Curry is the obvious one. I think Garnett is a clear 2. Clay and Blake. You can say the tiebreaker.
You could swap.
No, I think the tiebreaker is Clay has won championships, and Blake never even played in the finals. Is that true? And Paul George is kind of a meme at this point. So yeah, that's a good ranking. That is a great ranking.
There you
go. Good job.
Yeah.
We will be back. We will be back for more.
Did I just pull a Pierre Maguire though?
I just can't believe everyone's. That's the part that gets me. It's not even that you know anything about their NBA careers. It's that you know. It's that you know where they went to college. You knew Kevin Garnett didn't go to college.
I did.
And yeah, that's something I was going to add is that Blake Griffin, if he hadn't been injured, like Blake Griffin at his peak was a unbelievable monster dunker. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, is this going to become an NBA podcast?
I hope not. Please. No.
Yeah, no one wants to hear that.
I exhausted all of the things I could figure out in my brain.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. And if this is truly the last time that I speak to you this year, it has been a great year. This has been a great year for the podcast. This has been a great time. Even though the Ducks have struggled a bit, there's still a lot of excitement with new players, young players, prospects, new faces in the Discord, new faces in the Patreon page. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of you tuning in. If you want to support the podcast, there's very easy ways to do that. The number one way is to go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/crashthepond. For $2 a month, you get access to our patrons-only Discord server, and that's where you can basically just chit-chat with Jake and I pretty much any time of day. Regular business hours are best, but almost any time of day we'll be in there.
There are plenty of non-regular business hours.
Yeah, well, we have each end of the spectrum covered because I'll be in there later at night and Jake will be in there early in the morning.
I will be asleep, yes.
So it works out. You can chit-chat with us, but you can also join a community of fellow diehard Ducks fans. That's for $2 a month. And then if you want to up that to $7.50 a month, you get access to the Discord, but you also get access to 2 bonus podcast episodes every month where we'll go deeper into the Ducks. We'll also be a little bit more unfiltered. We'll answer your questions. We'll talk about the rest of the NHL. And you also get access to player videos and breakdowns. So, every week videos about specific players, shift-by-shift videos, what have you. They're up there as well, and that is at patreon.com/crashthepond. You can also leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. We greatly appreciate those. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for the video version of the show. You can subscribe to us and leave us a rating on Spotify. Logan just put in our chat, "Why am I still here?" And
I'm asking that same question.
2 hours in, I'm asking the same thing, pal. So we're in the same boat. But we're almost done. Also follow us on social media. We're on Blue Sky. We're on X. We're on TikTok. We're on everything. Just search Crash the Pond. And with all that being said, thank you for listening, everyone. And we'll talk to you soon. Happy holidays.
Bye.